Hey skiers, I'm Jeff from Skiessentials.com.
I'm Bob. How's it going?
Bob and I are here today to do another 2022 Liberty review. It was only just a few weeks ago that we looked at the Origin 101 from Liberty.
Yeah.
Today we're looking at a ski in their all-mountain collection, the Evolv90. A few years ago when this came out, it kind of was like somewhat surprising to get a product like this from Liberty.
Yeah, and one of the most surprising skis I had been on in a while.
Yeah.
Partly because I wasn't expecting it, and partly because the performance was that different from other skis.
Other Liberty skis.
Yep, Liberty skis and other 88 to 90 millimeter all mountain skis.
Yeah, so this is the Evolv90. It's back again for 2022. The shape stays the same. Similar to kind of how we were talking about the Origin 101. That was a new width in that line, but the rest of the line kind of stays the same, and then they got updated construction. And that's basically the theme for these skis too. Before we get into that updated construction and the rest of the review, it feels important to mention that there's no more V-Series from Liberty. So previously they had the V-Series, which were really more front-side focused, and then the Evolv skis, which were more all-mountain, and then, their wider skis, the Origins, Genesis, stuff like that, Helix, all those twin tips. So no more V-Series, so we don't get the V72, 82, or 92 for next season. Instead, now the narrowest ski is the Evolv 84. This wouldn't actually be the second narrowest ski they make because they've got some narrower park skis. But in this line, or if you want like a directional front side ski, this would be the second narrowest ski that they make. And it feels important to bring that up because it kind of feels like the construction was taken from those skis and applied to this. It's not identical, but it's very similar. And what makes it so similar is they now have 3 vertical metal struts. So this is VMT 3.0, where those Origins that I'm pointing to, they're like 50 feet away, through a couple walls. But that has VMT 1.0. So 3 vertical metal struts in this ski, poplar and bamboo wood core. There's a sheet of rubber foil kind of just underneath the base. They also get some steel binding platforms in there too. And kind of cool, you get this little window into the graphic right here, and you can see it. There's also 2 carbon fiber kind of stringers that run down the ski. Yeah. So pretty cool construction. There's a lot going on. I think I have a graphic of the construction that I'll throw up just so you can see it. And that's it. The big thing was that extra vertical metal strut. Yeah. Bob, I feel like shape's pretty straightforward, but you want to talk about shape?
Yeah, so similar to what we had before, these Evolvs have a very non-tapered, non-rockered shape and profile.
Yeah.
Widest point in the ski is right up at the front, so very little taper. And then rocker, we have the rocker shots in there as well, but I'll kind of put them together here. I think they're claiming maybe 10% in the tip, 10 or 15%. I forget the exact number, but
yeah, it's not much. And something that I was noticing just playing around with it is, depending on how much you decamber it, you're really getting a different amount of rocker. So when you're skiing it, the tip's picking up a little bit more than if you're just holding it. But yeah, pretty minimal rocker for sure.
Same in the tail. Flat tail, right to the end again. So very long effective edge for these skis. This is the 179, and this is what I was skiing on. I would opt for the longer length, but was surprised at how smooth this 179 was. And just, I don't know if they're claiming much tail rocker, but just a smidge in the tail.
Yeah.
And that's pretty necessary, I think, with a ski like this that's, pretty much truly non-tapered, is that there has to be a little bit of give in the tail, or else it's really going to hold on tight to the end. But it does that anyway, which is one of the most fun parts about this ski, is that true tip to tail edge contact, and that leads to a really smooth overall turn.
Yeah. Now I think the review portion of this ski is very similar to the last time that we talked about it. Yeah. To me, and I know that you think this too, we've talked about it quite a bit over the years now, and it's kind of come up again with this new construction. It is one of the smoothest and quietest skis in this category, period.
Yep.
And that's saying something because there's a lot of heavy hitter skis in this category.
Right.
The vertical metal, I give a lot of credit to the vertical metal and the rubber, but the vibration damping is just through the roof.
Yeah, and that was my first turn in on this ski a couple years ago, even with only the 2 struts of metal.
Yep.
Was, wow, I can't hear or feel a thing under my feet.
Yep.
And that was just remarkably impressive. And that carried forward to the next degree with this third metal strut, with just that supreme stability and just totally quiet nature of this ski, and because also we don't really ski on skis like this a whole lot. This is kind of an outlier in this category where the Brahmas and the Enforcer 88s of the world are really just all there and dense and strong. This doesn't feel as burly as that, but is every bit as stable and quiet, which is a really impressive thing to get.
Yeah, I agree. 18.5 turn radius in this 179 too. So it actually makes pretty big kind of sweeping turns.
Yep.
18.5 isn't huge, but a little bit longer than Brahma and Enforcer, I'm pretty sure. It's more in the kendo range to me when I think about the carving turn shape that it likes to make. To me, the Evolv90 and the kendo, at least they sit in a similar place in my head as 2 skis that are certainly willing to make bigger turns. I think you and I agree on this too. I don't feel a tremendous amount of energy from them coming out of a turn.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just me being lighter or on the lightweight side of things, so I'm not really flexing it a ton. But some skis feel like they have a really energetic kind of snap and pop out of a turn, like Elan Wingman would come to mind, or Vocal Deacon 84. Both of those skis feel like they've got more of a springy feel.
Yeah.
Where this it's glued to the snow. I mean, I feel like I've said that 2 or 3 times already, but it feels like the best way to describe it. It really is just it stays smooth. It makes perfect round carving turns, and it finishes them, and it kind of just tracks through anything. So, later in the day when the snow gets kind of chunked up and groomers aren't perfect, they still perform really, really well. I think tip-in performance is really good. I think they enter a turn really good. Some skis, when they do get that more tapered shape up in the tip, they don't pull you into a turn as much. I think these pull you into a turn quite nicely. And then something that you and I talked about before we started filming, it is in their all-mountain range. I think you and I both feel, at least here in Vermont, they lean more towards groomer application.
Yeah, and it was interesting that you brought up Deacon 74 and Wingman, which are more, I would say, front-side oriented skis to compare to this. And I think that that's more they kind of have that, shape, but in a different flex and behavior pattern. So they kind of skirt that difference between that front-side ski, especially like you were saying here, where we have to deal with tighter turns more often than out in Colorado, where these things are made, where those wider sweeping turns are more abundant. So, taking that into account when you're going through a ski selection process, I would hesitate to take this in the tighter trees here in Vermont. A lot has to do with that tail not having enough taper or rocker to assist you to make those turns. You would really have to be nimble on your feet to make some of the turns that are easier to make on even my heavier Enforcer 88s.
Yeah, I think it can do that stuff. It's one of those conversations where if you're going to use it for that, you should be a pretty good skier. It requires some unweighting of the tail and stuff like that. But you kind of flip it to thinking about Colorado and further west terrain, and it's a true all mountain ski for those skiers, because you don't really have to worry about the tail release. It's not we were saying, trees out west, you got a tree here, a tree 30 feet over there, a tree 30 feet over there. You don't feel like you're not forced to make these like super tight, tricky turns.
Right.
And it kind of also makes sense that it doesn't need to do that really well, like within Liberty's line. I'm sure Liberty's ski designers and engineers think about this stuff because we have talked about the Origin 96 and 101 and how good those skis are for tight, technical Eastern terrain. So you kind of don't, Origin 96, Evolv 90, they're close in width. So if you're that skier looking for that quicker, more technical performance, and you're here on the East, you'd probably just go Origin 96 instead of this is more of that powerful carving experience. Super cool skis. I think it's a valuable ski to have in this category in general because it is a little different.
Yeah, and I'm happy that they added that they kind of removed the overlap from the V series and made it into one. Taking the good parts of that V series, that little extra bit of metal, it does make a difference. They do flex pretty stiff, fore to aft, not as stiff torsionally. So they are easy to get up on edge and hold that turn throughout. But, kind of them mixing those two lines into these and, 100 and 110 in this Evolv series too.
84, 90, 100, 110.
Yeah.
So 110 in this shape, you're like Big Mountain Missile at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Those are pretty cool skis too.
Yeah.
But just, I like this overall build and construction for this shape of ski. A lot of good uses for it, and like I said before, just incredibly smooth, stable, and quiet.
Yeah, quiet. If there's one highlight of the ski, it's the vibration damping and just how smooth it is.
Yeah, definitely.
And I think you made a really good point about the overlap, because it did feel for the past couple of years, at least from my perspective, and I'm sure you feel this way too. It was kind of hard to differentiate between the V92 and the Evolv 90.
Right.
Like I could do it in my head, but it was hard to communicate the differences to everyone else. And I think it makes sense to just kind of simplify things and just stick with Evolv, beef up the construction a little bit, and call it good.
Yeah.
I don't think there are too many skiers that are going to be bummed out that Liberty doesn't have a 72 millimeter width ski anymore.
Right.
I just don't think there's that many skiers that choose that width from Liberty.
Right.
So, great job, Liberty. That's the Evolv 90. As always, let us know if you have any questions. Like we said, there's a ton of skis in this category, so if you want more detailed info on how we would compare it to a Kendo or something like that, just leave a comment and we'll let you know our opinion. Bob, anything you want to leave them with?
Nope, just really fans of this ski. The wider the trail, the better, I found.
Yeah, nosedive, like rip and turn down nosedive on this thing was sweet.
Yep,
so
as good as it gets.
That's the Evolv 90. We will talk to you guys soon.
Bye.